Hello, with this video I wanted to cover one of the possible and main doubts you may have about Castellan as a language, and it's one of the main pillars of the language and really essential to understand, to more or less unlock the meaning of the different sentences and words. So you may have noticed when I do some translations that words change form. They suddenly change how they are written or how they are pronounced, and that is actually true. That is what is happening. They are changing depending on where they are in the sentence, and that is because whereas in English we mostly use prepositions like some you can see here, uh, for example, to, towards, or in front of, inside, to express the meaning of the sentence or the sense for or the function of a certain word inside of the sentence. In Castellan, actually the sometimes we don't even have to use these prepositions. Sometimes only the word changes form, and then actually that is what actually gives meaning or changes the meaning of the word. So these different functions that a word can do inside a sentence, that's what we call the grammatical cases, and this will change the form of the word depending on the action they are serving inside of the sentence. So we will take a look over all four of them. There are four grammatical cases in Castellan: nominative, accusative, genitive, and instrumental. And we also will look at how they may affect different words depending on how they end, how the word ends, or how it is pronounced. So this we have four grammatical cases, but these grammatical cases can end in two possible ways, depending on how they are pronounced. But we will look into this later. First of all, let's clear out what these grammatical cases are and when we will use them. So nominative is pretty simple. It marks the subject of the sentence, so the thing or the person that is doing the action in the sentence. Here we have an example. Rosbires are megal. Crossfire is friendly. So here the subject is crossfire, Rosbires. Notice that it ends in the es, so a vowel plus the s ending. This is pretty common as a nominative ending in Castellan. And so when you see a word that ends like this, you are probably facing the subject of the sentence or the direct object in some instances. We will look at these exceptions later, but so just for now, just think it ends in vowel plus s. It's probably the subject of the sentence, so the thing or the person that is doing the action. Okay, let's move on to accusative, to the next. This is the most difficult, grammatical case. Why? Because it unites what used to be two different grammatical cases in older Castellan. So it kind of serves different functions, but we will get through this. So for starters, it usually refers to the direct object. That means the thing that is being done, or that the thing or the person that is being affected by the action. So, for example, we can see it here. Escabires stase ador hrosvire. So Scavier gave the stone, and this is really important. Why we can use the nominative and the accusative to refer to the direct object. And here is the difference. When the word is indefinite, it means it's not the stone or a very specific stone. It's just some random stone, a stone, not the stone. We will use the nominative. That means that, for example, if we wanted to say Scavier Scavier gave a stone to Crossfire, we would say Escavires stas ador hrosvire. Scavier gave a stone to Crossfire. But since we want to express that this stone is the one stone, so a definite meaning, a very specific stone, we use the accusative. So in this case, the ending, it ends with an E. Again, we will later see, depending on the declension, how different words can change and can adapt depending on how they are pronounced. But don't worry about it for now. So just remember, accusative and nominative. Nominative can be the subject. It is usually the subject, but it can also be the direct object. Accusative can be the direct object, but when it is a specific, definite thing that is referring to. Then, for the accusative, we can also use as a indirect object and as the locative. What this means is the indirect object is the thing or the person we are directing the action towards. How do I explain it? So Scavier gives a stone. We have the thing that is being given, the stone is being given. But to whom does the action affect? This is Crossfire. Here, hrosvire. So here it takes the same form as stone, but it has a very different implication. Because although it is the same form, we use also the accusative. Depending on where it is located, you will be able to distinguish one or the other. So notice here that between one accusative form that does the direct object and the other that does the indirect object, there's the verb. And usually what we will do is between one of the other, to distinguish them, we will place the verb. So if you see two accusatives but don't know exactly which is which, usually try to look at where the verb is, and if the verb is between them, you will be able to then figure out more or less which one maybe is doing the indirect object function and which one is doing the locative function. So, for example, here as a locative we have an example: Escavires me casse tor. Scavier was inside the house. Escavires me casse tor. As you can see, stase, casse. But here, to be more precise, we also use a preposition like we would do in English, in or inside, me casse, inside the house, and the verb at the end. So This is the most difficult one. If you can get through it and distinguish when we are using it, when we're using the nominative as a subject or a direct object, and the three functions of the accusative as a direct object, indirect object, and locative, you will have almost pretty much mastered the grammatical cases. These are the most important distinctions. Then we have the genitive grammatical case. What does the genitive do? It indicates belonging, possession, or origin. It's what in English we would usually express with the prepositions of or from. Or actually, this is a very good example because we have something similar in English to Castellan terminations and grammatical cases, which is the Saxon genitive, which actually has the same name because English used to have grammatical cases as well, but it lost them over time. Although now there are remnants still of these grammatical cases. But in English we would say, for example, Scavier's house. Remember the original form, or the original denominative form for the subject is escabires. But here it transforms to escavirei. Escavirei, it ends with a ei, an e and an I. So a vowel plus an I is the most common form for the genitive. Here it's acting as a possessive, so we're expressing that this house belongs to Scavier. Cas Scavirei, Scavier's house. Okay, this is one. Then we move on to the instrumental case. Instrumental indicates causation, motives, means to, and company. What does it mean? So if we want to express why we do an action, or our motives, or more or less the context of something, we use this this grammatical case. We can also use it for company, so what persons or things we are doing some action with. For example, here instrumental for causation, so for our motives, would be Scavires, Castellalua hulua subor. Scavier spoke for all Castellans, so for the cause or for the interests of all Castellans. Here we are expressing the cause or the motive for Scavier speaking. So the cause or the motive for Scavier to speak was the Castellans, for the Castellans. So we will use this termination, Castellalua hulua. We usually we do it with a U or with a W, depending on if it's plural. We will see later. Notice here as well, this is an adjective, hul. All, it means all, everyone. Castellalua hulua. So both are adjectives, but this is acting more as a noun, because it's referring to the Castellans. But notice here that the adjective all, it's also declined. It also changes and adopts the form of the noun that is describing. This all refers to the Castellans, all the Castellans. But notice here that it also changes. Castellalua hulua. So if some word or some adjective is complementing or is linked to another noun, and they change, and the noun changes, grammatical case, that complementary word or that adjective will change as well with its respective form for that same case. So that is very important to remember, because they're basically serving the same function in the sentence. They are the motive, all the Castellans, which is the motive for Scaver to speak, all the Castellans. Then for company, as we said before, Escabires rosvireu quesar. Scaver walks with crossfire. Escabires rosvireu quesar. Scaver walks with crossfire. So here, to specify that we're not talking about about the causation or the motive for the action, we are talking about company, who is accompanying Scaver. We add the preposition que here, with. So we can see there is a primary meaning, or a primary sense for this grammatical case, or for this form that we can understand, and this is the causation. But then company usually needs to add this preposition to be fully understood. Apart from that, there's also some particularities for the instrumental case. So, and this will need to go back to the accusative. When we are talking about time, about time. So, for example, we're talking about the past, for example. There's two ways we can do it. We can refer to a specific moment, so to a very punctual moment in time, a very specific moment in time, like an event or something that happened really quickly, or to a period of time that lasts, an action that lasts or that continues, a continued action through time. So these two senses, or these two meanings to talk about time, a specific time and a continuous time, we will use accusative and instrumental, depending on which one we use. So for the specific time, we will use the accusative. It's kind of similar to the same reason we use the accusative as a locative, because it's acting as a locative. We are doing an action in a specific place in time. So, for example, day is yos. Yos is the word for day. Let me write it right here. Yos means day. Then, if I wanted to say, I spoke that day, es Yosseme subor. I, in the day, spoke. In that day, spoke. So we are referring to a specific date. But if we wanted to say, I spoke during the day, so a continued action, is Yosu, and then we would use this preposition to specify this change in meaning. Pu uppe, during or along or besides, during the day. Es Yosupu subor. I spoke during the day. Or if I wanted to say Yosu Hulu, then for the entire day. I spoke for the entire. Remember hul, all, hulu, Yosu subor. Es Yosuhulus pusubor. I spoke for the entire day, during the entire day. Remember, the verb usually goes at the end of the sentence. And yeah, that's the main difference for instrumental and accusative used to express time or specific moments. So that's about it. Sorry about my English. And if you have any doubt, this video is mainly to leave as a resource that I can refer to. I will try to do some better video further along in the future. And if you have any doubt, Discord is there. So see you.